There we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Trek Talk. I'm TechMan16.
I'm StrangeKirk.
And I'm Handy.
We got a good show for you guys today. We've got people from Server 9, the newly merged Server 9, but they're the OGs from Server 9. We've got SeekerOne with us. Hey, Seeker.
Hey.
Pleasure to have you join us. And we also got the Admiral, right? Admiral of Ares, Archangel.
Yep. Pleasure to be with y'all.
Thanks for being here. The first person I actually went to was Dark from me, but shout out to his week-old son. Congratulations to him. Anyways, so you guys have merged with Server 25, and I talked to Ree about the issues that you were having last time out, and started with the chat bans, which was really silly. But now I was talking to Dark from NE about the dynamics that are going on. It seems like nobody from the original Server 9 can get any territories. Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much. They created S25 created a coalition to really combat what they felt was potential threat from Black. They were given some bad information by an S9 alliance, but they formed a coalition of alliances that typically did not like each other, actually, and determined and carved up territories and have basically will go in and blanket what I call a sector or a territory to the point where the server nearly crashes or the lag is so bad you can't do anything. And they flood the system with a zillion ships. And while I'm not opposed to that, they do need to at least provide some level of free play. So I think having it pre-carved up and predetermined, and then of course when they got some S9 alliances to jump over to their cause, they naturally made sure they got some space on the map. So it was pretty interesting. I suspect the coalition can't hold forever, but they definitely made it difficult and challenging, and at times some of the folks can get a little verbal abusive in Discord. Yeah, it was interesting.
So the entire server, the other server that you merged with, they banded together into one coalition?
I would say probably the top 10 alliances. What do you think, Seeker, about that?
Oh, yeah, easily. And for any of the, like with us, when we were talking about taking over one of the territories, one of the other, like SSR, for example, basically said we had to have their permission to take a territory, and they would decide which one. That doesn't work for us.
Really?
Wait, now, hold on a sec. SSR, is that a Server 9 alliance or Server 25 alliance?
Server 25.
Server 25. Okay, so they, as far as I remember, they have the ABC alliances, which are, I'm assuming, the top 3, and they banded together with their, like, the rest of their top 10 alliances. So I would assume that there's a lot more players that came from Server 25 than there were left on Server 9. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
double ours.
Yeah, it's definitely right. So, which leads me to believe how the hell we actually won. But that's a topic for another day.
Well, I could tell you how you won. It's based on activity, percentage of activity. So if you have 50 people and 25 participate, that's 50% of your server, versus 500 people and 243 people participate, that's less than 50%. That's how you won, because it takes the percentage of activity on the server as opposed to the aggregate.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah, it's been an interesting dynamic. I think our battle over row and trying to come up with some reasonable row has been the most entertaining of late, and where I spent pretty much my entire day sitting in Discord and channels trying to determine what is fair, what is not fair.
Please tell us
Yeah, how did
all
that
the
shake out?
all the gory details about
Regale
Roe.
us with the tale.
The current
my
row,
God.
the current row would be that, for example, board token space is safe, no hitting OPC. I mean, really? Seriously? If you got a token, go spend it. You want to hit somebody OPC, that's your business. But token
Yeah, I agree.
space, there's now restricted, and then we finally got the restriction removed off of the rogue token space, so that's always a bonus.
No, tell them about the 1 minute warning.
Oh gosh,
That's
we got this removed though. This has been removed. They wanted you to give a 1 minute warning to floaters. Yeah, no, that dog don't hunt. So that got removed. I think everybody after about a 12-hour soak on that one came to the same conclusion that that was just dumb. So that got eliminated. So now we're at the point where you can hit floaters without restriction. You cannot hit reds while actively hunting. That
You cannot hit reds
Wait,
while actively
what's
hunting.
that mean?
So if you're out hitting your dailies, out doing your dailies, and you're out hitting your reds doing your dailies, whatever grinding you're going to be doing for that, you can't hit that person while they're out grinding. Yeah, that's
Really?
it.
So if somebody's actively grinding, they're safe, regardless.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you're in board space, swarm space. Oh, and I can't remember the third one because honestly, I just started laughing too hard when I read it last night. That you can hit them OPC, and then if you are in those spaces, you have to use the same type of ship. You can't have another ship. So I can't send Jelly in to do some house cleaning.
Wait, are you serious? I didn't know this.
I am
So
serious.
they're telling
Okay,
you what
so
kind of ships you can use. Holy
Well,
shit.
It's
that's
gotten.
because it's because somebody flies around in their Ant-A and blows up everybody.
Yeah,
I
Seeker.
really want to just I want to get like a day pass to your server
I'm
and just
telling you,
take everyone's lunch.
it's gotten to the point of being childish. It's really coming from maybe 2 to 3 people that have an obsession to protect smalls because they don't want to drive people out of the game. What's driving people out of the game are these ridiculous rows. Right? They put so much emphasis on trying to restrict this, block that, to try to protect the smaller players. Well, guess what? I was a smaller player and got my ass kicked. It's just the way of the world, and you're going to play it. You learn from it. You ask the bigs, hey, how can I prevent this, or what crews are good, or what research should I be doing next, type of thing. So you grow from the experience, but to block everybody, then you're just going to take those folks that have had enough and drive them out. I mean, the chat ban is actually alive and well. We just had another person chat blocked today for his name, H8. And so we also had another gal, Amber, blocked. Well, she can be annoying in GC. She's absolutely harmless. And so to me, we've crossed the line that is now set a precedent that if you want to get a group of people together and chat ban somebody, all you have to do is do a mass report and it auto believe. And so where does that line stop? What's the next thing that they're going to attempt to do to try to control? So I think the S9 folks, all they were doing is now bringing people from S9 back together. We were splintered. We didn't expect it to come in so with S25 so organized. And so I think a lot of the S9 alliances were just still operating in their mainframes of alliances that they had amongst each other, but didn't band together. And now all they're doing is driving us to come together to combat this chat stuff. And then you throw Row on top of it. S9's basically become a shit show. And so, to put it quite bluntly, and people are going to start leaving again. And it's just because, people get tired of putting up with it all.
So, Seeker,
Yes.
when we had Gregor on the show, he said some interesting things about you without naming who you were.
Correct.
I'll remind everybody, you're the guy who used to camp the mission points and
Not all
clear
the
out
time.
ships.
Not all the time.
So, are you the considered now the official spokesman for Server 9 on how to combat Server 25?
No, but I'm the server bad boy. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah. So Seeker's name is used in the Admiral channel to define row. So part of the row is due to Seeker being the bad boy of the server, and he's in my alliance, so I've given him weapons free status in certain areas.
Let me get this straight. People are designing row around one person's actions.
Correct.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard of in my life.
Here's what they called it. Here's what they called it. Ready for this? You guys will get a great laugh out of this. They called it "Don't be a dick." Seriously, that's what they referred to it.
I agree with "Don't be a dick." We did the same. I did Nona.
Oh, they stole that shit. They stole that shit. Who stole that from our server? Somebody stole that from our server. Period. We did. That's us. And if you're listening to this, you stole it, and you need to go ahead and give us credit.
So we have a "Don't be a dick" clause, but essentially all it means is if you're trolling us, we're going to come after you. Essentially.
Well, the thing is, when the merge first took place, and our alliance decided on the territory, the 15 of us that were participating in that takeover were beating out. I don't even remember who it was. It might have been USA, but we were beating out this other alliance that had 70, 80 ships there fairly handily, and then they called in their coalition and flooded the place. And that was my personal best of 237 ships destroyed in that one takeover. But it was just we couldn't pull it off. And you need to get permission. And after that, it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go around crushing everybody. And there are a couple of people from Server 25 that have just spent prodigious amounts of money to be able to put me in my place, but that's okay. I did the same thing, so we're all good.
Now, I have a feeling if you were on our server, Seeker, I probably wouldn't agree with your play style, to be honest. But I also think it's totally ridiculous to design a row around one player's actions.
It's
it's
interesting.
I mean, there's a few players that play like Seeker, so it's just not him alone. But Seeker is the poster child.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So let me ask you this: how is it when you guys merge, the territory's all reset? Were you guys able to take a territory first, and then you lost them out because of the coalitions from Server 25, or did you never get a territory to begin with?
We never had one.
Yeah, we tried to take one, and we almost had it, and Rihanna's group called for help. ABC called for help of the coalition, and next thing we know, there must have been 200 plus ships showing up towards the end, and you just can't sustain that weathering. And so it's just, we lost it with about 10 minutes to go.
Have you guys started?
They saw that you guys were going to win and decided, we can't have somebody from Server 9 win.
Correct.
Yes.
Have you guys ever thought about spawn camping their bases? Or have somebody else spawn camp their bases while you take care of the ships inside the territory?
You know, funny you mentioned that. I send a Newton around with a base buster crew, to handle things like that, and they don't care. They flood it with such small ships, Rialtas and Envoys, that there are just so many of them.
It just the lag is so bad, it's horrendous. So I mean, and then you've got a number of large players. You got like a Gregor, for example, that's out there with all his 50 level ships, and then you got HNO, who's a cool guy, by the way. I have no issue with
He really is.
And so HNO's out there with all his big ships, and then So it begins to pile up, and it's tough to combat that when you've got 10 alliances versus one. We tried to form a sort of a mini coalition, if you will, of the willing, and it just never could get the proper traction because, again, the volume of ships coming in, the lag just made it ineffectual. And that's their intent. That's the whole purpose, is to bring the server to its knees so you can't compete.
Well, I will tell you this. We went through all that. Eventually, people just stop showing up and they stop giving up because they stop caring as much, and they just literally lose the will to send all their little ships flying around. We've seen it happen. We've seen alliances it's just basically you just have to keep at them and at them and at them and at them, and they'll back down. They'll give up. People will stop showing up. People will stop logging on for takeovers and stuff like that. And then that's when it'll happen. So, I mean, we've seen it happen several times where people really think that they have it in the bag. But you're only as strong as your numbers.
Numbers win. Absolutely.
I mean, that's just what it is. You could have 6 int A's on nodes, but if everybody's sending out 4 or 5 tiny ships, you're still going to lose. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's just strictly a numbers game, and that's what you have to do. You just have to basically beat them into submission. Especially the people that are silly enough to send out their actual warships. Keep blowing up those warships. Make them burn through every speed up they have. Make them burn through all the latinum. Eventually, they're going to go, dude, I don't even really have enough to continue to play the game normally for PvE stuff. And they'll stop. They'll give up.
It's funny you mentioned that because the other day, like 4 days ago, we took it upon ourselves. There was an alliance who offended us. And that day was weapons free on this one particular alliance. We took, my total was 179 ships. 171 of them were warships, major warships. And Lieutenant Worf, he had 113 ships. And we just concentrated on that one alliance. And the next day they were willing to back down to us.
Negotiate.
Yeah. Is that what you call it?
I mean, that's just what it takes sometimes. I mean, it really does. I mean, that's why I tell people it's everybody keeps saying war, but I don't know. That's a pretty deep word for, fucking around on a mobile game, but some people take it that seriously. I don't know. They can seek out other things to do in real life, but I digress. That's my favorite term to use. But that's just what it is. I mean, the people that are usually bark the loudest, they're usually the first ones to give up. They spend all this energy, they pour all their energy into it. And if you just keep going and going and going and going, they'll stop.
Oh yeah.
So I'm reminded of when we had Lord Farquaad here on server 147. There was a 4-team alliance that was able to take a territory and almost grabbed another one. And their strategy was effectively all the territories have been decided, and top players effectively made a deal with another alliance, and so everybody's lulled into sleep. Everybody's got their territory. Nobody would show up. And then, 10 minutes into territory takeover, not at the start, but 10 minutes into it, I think 15 minutes into it, they had their allied alliance just clear out all the ships, and then they come in and take all the nodes and start spawn camping the places around where ships were coming through. So they would just blow ships up as they were warping into the system.
And that's what we would do. They arrived really early to dominate whatever territory they're attempting to take over. We learned that really fast, and we would go in and just start waylaying as soon as they come in. But again, it's a numbers game. You can only maintain that for so long, and then the masses just overwhelm what defenses you have in there.
Right. Well, that's why it's a sneak attack, and you got to play the long game. So you got to wait it out for a couple months until everybody gets bored.
Oh yeah, and that's what I keep telling my alliance is that this is a long game. Be patient. Our turn will come. They're being really diligent right now, and that's all good. And you know what? I applaud them that they're being diligent. I'm not mad at them for what they've done per se. I think it's a little childish about trying to have it all divvied up a little bit, but I do think that taking our time, be patient, have fun, treat it as PvP, rack up our kills and our power destroyed, have some fun with it, and just laugh. Have a beer or just sit back and have some coffee, whatever your favorite beverage is, and just enjoy the fact that you're getting out there and actually getting to play and not playing mining farm.
Oh my God. That's
So
what
do you guys take out all the meridians in the system? In the systems?
Oh yeah, that's fun. OPC, those meridians go so damn fast. It's I don't need a territory right now because, quite honestly, I'm living off of all the OPC of everybody who's in territory. So it's for us, it's like, yeah, we're just gonna go shopping at the TC store. So,
and it's
how much
you know
do you
what
get?
I enjoy the PvP.
well, let's see. This morning I just pulled about probably 600K this morning in one run.
And I enjoy the PvP aspect.
Yeah.
Of it. And one of the things that Infinite Key has said in the Admiral's chat that I've seen, because I'm not part of the Admiral's chat, but I get notes, is that I've played with Seeker for over 2 years. You can do whatever you want. You can put whatever row out there you want, but he's going to do what he wants to do, and he'll violate the row unless you give him something.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so far, I didn't know about the I have to play fair with my ships campaign now.
But that's if you're in certain systems.
Oh, I don't care.
Oh, trust me. I read it last night because I was off all day yesterday. And read it last night in the Admiral channel and nearly spit out my coffee.
Yeah, Angel, how late did you message me last night? It must have been like 11 p.m. or something. So is that what you were doing?
Yeah. I was honestly, I must have read that row at least 30 times going, am I reading this right? I mean, seriously, I was too stunned to speak for a little bit. I just was laughing too hard, just going, okay, this is absurd. And so all it's going to do is cause, I've got a few players that play aggressive. We're a fighting alliance. Our purpose is to stir the pot and, beat doors down and take your candy and steal your toys. And
yeah, you guys sound like assholes.
Oh gosh,
we are.
We absolutely are. But we play fair. We don't play dirty. But when you've got a row that is so restrictive, people are just. You don't want to say they're going to take matters into their own hands, but they'll come and say, "Hey, I think I did something bad." Oh gosh, what did you do? And so, so far, I've only had minor complaints of folks. Mainly, it's just Seeker destroying, level 32s. Like, how can Seeker get his kick from killing a level 32? Because it was sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and he happened on it, and he killed it. What's the point? Grow up, move on. It's a level 32. It's a couple of speed ups. Move on. I mean, I'm not going to punish him or try to say, hey, Seeker, bad Seeker, and slap his hand and say, hey, stop hitting level 32s. If you're a floater, you're dead. Move or die. Shield or share. If you're sitting around doing nothing, expect to die. Simple as that. And then they put down no camping at armadas. So you have to time your approach to the armada so you arrive just as it's either starting or have just finished. And then they wanted a 1 minute post armada to give you a chance to escape or try to move to another armada. It's a war game, people, to a certain extent, and you're gonna get hit. It's just life. So these are some of the insanities that we're trying to smile about and say, okay, sure, this is insane, but okay.
I have to say, I actually like I used to camp right outside of armadas just to let them know I was coming. But now I kind of like I'm in a completely different system, and I'll reach your armada just as it starts. I like that. It's been more fun.
So you guys hit. Are these people that you have red dotted, or are these just random people in armadas?
Random people.
Well, yeah.
Oh, so just okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. That type of stuff. I mean, I get it. It's a war game, but I mean, love me or hate me. you guys kind of deserving everything you're getting if you're doing that. I said what I said.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
And that's why we went along with the row. We didn't. I only fought on some points. That one I completely gave them that we would not show up and camp in an armada, and so that was a point that I was totally willing to give into. And again, I think it is more sporting if you try to time your approach and come in afterwards. But it's just part of the gameplay. It's a little more aggressive style, but trying to make it entertaining for everybody. So we're finding a balance. We're relatively new, and we came out of SEC on server 9, and so we're still trying to find our way a little bit and find what is acceptable, what's not within our own alliance. There are things that I cringe at and go, ooh, that probably was not a good thing, and take note of it and monitor it, make sure it's not happening as a consistent approach. It's definitely a fine line. I do see. I take your. It's totally cool. I mean, Seeker's probably one of the best players out there, and I've never seen him post a negative PM.
I never have.
Everybody thinks he's an ogre and just a pile of poo, but he's not. I mean, and you get to know the guy. He's a super nice guy and loves the game, plays with passion. But I've never seen him say "F you" or any type of negative comment in PM. So I mean, he plays hard. I mean, he'll hit the smaller ships, sure, but he plays with heart and he plays with passion. And I'd rather have somebody like that than somebody who maybe logs on for an hour every other day.
So what I do when people complain is I send them the 2 slices of pizza and a participation trophy.
Yes, he does. I know, because I've had that participation trophy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's, obviously it's just a game, right? But all the stuff that you all are describing, if it was on our server, probably any other server, I mean, you'd definitely be, hit pretty hard by pretty much everybody and their mother. Their mother would probably create an account just to dry hit your miners. And so like when I say that, like I don't, no disrespect or anything, but like all the stuff that you guys are having to put up with, I mean, I don't, I get it. Like everybody's play style is different, and I'm not going to say anybody is wrong, but the consequences that you're facing for what you guys are describing that you're doing, I don't see anything wrong with any of it, and I think that stuff is going to continue for forever. I mean, that's just your guys' play style. So that was just the point I was making. Like I wasn't trying to take a shot at you. Like it's cool.
Oh no, StrangeKirk, I don't think you're taking a shot at us at all. I think part of our response is to counter some of the ridiculous row. And I do think some of it has just been wanting to just play a little more freely than what we had been. And like I keep telling a lot of folks is that everything will settle down and we'll get into a rhythm and we'll find a style that matches what we want to do without being jerks. And we have I think what happened was the euphoria of having all these new people and having active players and active targets, where server 9 prior to merge was pretty much dead. It was the same people, same time, same thing over and over again, to the point where you could only send one ship into a territory to take it over and nobody will challenge. I mean, it got that bad. And so to have all these new people and this new energy, it kind of became a life of its own for a while. And everybody's settling down and starting to get into that rhythm as I expected it would. And so I just told everybody to be patient, and then our style of play will probably align and start to match. So it was a sense of, ooh, new people type of thing.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, in my defense. Prior to the merge, the odds of me hitting a floater level ops 33 to say 37, 38 was pretty low, just because they are lower players. But the ultimate dick move to me is the S25 coalition deciding who gets what. And we've got the dick rules. Don't be a dick. Well, that's the ultimate dick move. And in my book, my response is very simple. If I see a floater, I'm going to kill it. If I happen to be moving through a system and you're hunting hostiles, I'm going to kill you. If I'm moving through a system and you're running an armada, odds are I'll position myself across the server and wait for it to go off and then blow you away. If they're going to come up with the S25 versus the S9 and we're going to have it that way forever on this server, fine, I can play that game, and I will. And I'll be the ultimate bad boy on it.
That's fair enough.
So have your relations with Gregor normalized yet?
Oh, no, I've still got him blocked. No, what happened there was we got into a little PMS war there, and his last comment was, you have to know who your betters are. And I sent back to him, well, when you find out who they are, you let me know. And then that was the last thing, and I blocked him instantly. So since that, we have not had any, obviously, direct communication or even indirect communication. So
I guess it's time to open up those channels if you guys want to band together again.
Oh, I don't think I want to band together with Gregor.
Yeah. Oh, God, no. No, I want nothing to do with Gregor. Absolutely nothing. Gregor to me is an opportunist when it suits his desires to be so. I have zero respect for Gregor, I'll be honest. He went over to AVN. He went over to the S25 server folks of AVN. And again, I have mad respect for H&O. I've had numerous conversations with him. Totally straight up cool dude. Totally dig him.
Yep.
But he left his long-term associations with people like Abi and others within the Vikings, former ARG, former blah, blah, blah. Can't keep up with their name changes. And so he ran over to them, left everybody he knew behind, really, and joined AVN. Was there, maybe a week, and left AVN and crawled back over to Vikings. So, you know what? Zero respect.
But now he's back in AVN now.
Oh, he's back in AVN now, yeah. So zero respect.
AVN.
Yeah, no respect there.
So,
all right. So Donald Trump has a question for you, because when you guys were merged, right? It happened overnight. Nobody knew what the hell happened. You had an 8-hour peace shield on. Did your bases move? Were they in the previous position? What was like the finer points of the merge?
They never moved. Our bases didn't.
I moved my base out to a lower level system near the territories.
Yeah.
Just so and where there was nobody. So I knew that there was a good chance that it would just stay there.
Right, but that was pre-merge. So we knew that the merge was coming because we knew we had won. And so I instructed everybody to get out of territories. And then we had a bunch of people gather near Augment Space. But our stations never moved. And honestly, I'm not sure theirs moved, but ours did not. So the winning side, keep your station where it is. The losing side got wherever they got.
Donald Trump is a good target.
Do we have anybody from 25 here today? I don't see it.
No, they're probably too busy reporting our podcast for foul language.
Oh my God!
Don't get me started on the chat banning. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
so
please.
What kind of? You can't just get banned for just anything. It's like you message, hi, hello, how you doing, and they get banned. Like
that you can, because they mass report it. When they mass report it, my understanding, and I could be wrong because I'm not a dev, that it'll trigger an auto block if X number of people report you in an X number of time frame. And so I don't know what those numbers are specifically, but it's happening to a number of people.
It's just a chat ban, right? Or can you not log into your account?
It's a chat ban, to my knowledge. I know one person that couldn't get into his account. And today's his last day of being banned. But They're banning people for their name. So H8 is offensive. They banned H8 for offensiveness.
How is H8 offensive?
I have absolutely no clue.
H8, hate. I'm assuming it spells hate.
I think that's what it is. Honestly, he's
H8. Okay,
yeah,
yes,
numeral the number 8.
Gotcha, I missed that
but
part.
you've got, we had one of our players. We forced him to change his. Well, we shamed him to change his name today because he was so fed up with this concept of Dick Move. He called, that was Worf. He went, Dick Move Worf. We told him you better change your name because they'll probably get you chat banned for that. And so, I mean, it's getting to that point that it's just absurd. Like I said, this one gal, Amberlini, some might know her. She's a small player. She's there to just be annoying and be social. That's really her shtick, is to be social and be annoying. Harmless, couldn't hurt a fly. Her ships aren't strong enough to do anything. And they got her banned. She never swears.
What did she say?
She never swears. She's just she could be flirty, that type of stuff. But somebody got upset with something she said because I was the one to be the liaison with her from the Admiral's side, because the Admirals all get together and try to talk about this stuff. And so I liaised with her, and she has no clue why she was banned. She goes, I never say anything bad. I'm flirty and things like that, but I never say anything bad. And she's flirty and she's annoying because she's constantly lives in GC. But that's it.
Well, she's in her own alliance, is she? Yeah. Is she not?
She is. If she got banned, why isn't somebody? We have a person called Action Jackson who just is over the top, and that guy should be banned. Actually, should just be removed from the server. But
so when you get chat banned, you're not allowed to talk in the game. Period.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Not inside your alliance. Not private chat. Not nothing.
Zero. You're 100%.
You can send messages, but then Scopely will return it as an error. Effectively,
yeah.
That's how that feature works. And I would know.
You can still read everybody's messages.
Yeah, you can read everybody. You can still do your gameplay, but you just can't respond to anyone.
Yeah,
so
you're
so yeah, if you hit somebody over the protected cargo limit, and people want to start shit with you, and they can message you all you want, and you're like, and it look like you're a dick because you're not responding.
Well, the other thing that they were doing to get you banned was to get you locked out for 3 days, so your shield would drop and drain you. So they've done that to a couple of players. We had one guy, Sletter, who was actually locked out of the game because he can be aggressive and he can use language that's not always acceptable. And so he got locked out of the game. But it's pretty tough to want to drain his base because he doesn't have any RSS showing. And he does that as a means of protecting himself if something like that does happen. So, I mean, yeah, it's gotten really, really petty. And what do you do? What do you say in GC? You say nothing in GC. I personally try to avoid it when possible at all times because nothing ever good will come of it. But where does it stop? Where's that line? I mean, if they can get somebody chat banned for a name,
if you're breaking terms of service, then sure, chat ban is acceptable. But if you're not breaking terms of service, then there's no reason to report somebody.
But they don't care.
Report somebody just because that's censorship.
Yes, it is absolutely 100%. It's absolutely censorship. 100% censorship.
Like you just don't like what they're saying. Like it has to break terms of service for you to report them. Anybody reporting somebody that is not terms of service related is an idiot.
I couldn't disagree. I agree 100% with what you just said. I mean,
so Angel, it's interesting that you say that there's like a mass reporting feature that auto triggers something because, way back on our server, we had guys who test that feature and they would spout out misogynistic, racist, homophobic, fascist things in GC, and they wouldn't get banned for like 6 to 8 hours. And that's just constantly spamming in GC. So I'm just surprised that
it's people reporting you. It's not that the system automatically picks up keywords. It's that people are reporting you.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, there's people on our server that were spamming for 6 to 8 hours, racist, homophobic things, and I'm sure tons of people were reporting them, but it just didn't get picked up for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm speculating, by the way, because I've been trying to figure out what's triggering it, or how somebody could just, what do you do, report somebody 25 times? I mean, so part of this is speculation, but I've been trying to figure this stuff out to a certain extent, and then I finally just gave up last night at about midnight, when I had 3 people contact me saying that they were chat banned, and that was in the span of 8 hours. And so, again, for me, where does it stop? If that's how you're going to play, then have your damn server to yourself. I'll go find something else to do, because I'm not going to put up with a game or put up with people that are going to be that low, that petty, that simple-minded to get somebody chat banned because you either A, don't like them, B, find something offensive. Hey, man, your name's a little offensive to me. Have you ever considered changing it? Why don't you try a PM or an approach? Or, hey, go to their admiral and say, hey, this may not be the right kind of thing for what's going on in today's social environment. Maybe we should talk to this person, get it changed.
Well, I mean, that's how we've always dealt with it on our server.
And being mature. But clearly these folks don't see it the same way. So, I mean, for me, it's a slippery slope. It's a line now that they've crossed. And, am I going to get chat banned next for being on this podcast? Who knows? And I don't care if I am. I mean, if I do, then I'm going to freaking wait.
Hold on. If you get chat banned, who's going to take over as admiral?
You are, Seeker. I'm going to go into Discord and nominate you admiral.
Yeah, anybody who's listening to this podcast should probably note that you should give Seeker access to Admiral chat, because if he's referenced at least 3 to 5 times a day, then he kind of needs to be in the loop.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that so it didn't turn into a screaming shit show.
Wait, so what is it now?
It's just above a shit show. So
it's just a bubble shit show. So you don't want to turn it into a screaming shit show.
That's exactly right. So I have 2 Commodores. Seeker's a Commodore. I've got 2 Commodores in there. One of Outcast, which is a good buddy of Seeker's, who's feeding him the information he needs. And I'm always happy to feed Seeker whatever he needs to know as well. But it would be like pouring gasoline on a flame, and yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what you need for a good dumpster fire.
Well, you do. Absolutely. Outcast can do that too, though.
No, I got to tell you guys something about Outcast. He is absolutely awesome. He is a member of the Royal Astrological Society of Canada, and he reads the stars.
Oh my gosh!
He tries to figure out what's going on between server 9 and server 25 by reading the stars every night, and he gives us a report. He's right about 70% of the time.
Yeah, no, so we do communicate pretty well within the Admiral chat. The problem is, I mean, when you get somebody like Infinite Keys chat banned, really? Keys? I mean, from Black, that's a head scratcher for me.
He was the first one too, I think.
I think he was the first one. He was the first one to get chat banned, and so he's a stand-up guy. He's passionate. He loves the game. He values the game. He sees the game for what it is. And I don't always agree with Keys, I have respect for Keys, and so
I mean, he's been on the podcast in chat form before when Gregor was on. So he's always been a pretty good dude.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he'd get chat banned.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it's a childish response, and one that honestly could come back to bite them. But I have messaged
it can be played both ways. It can be played both ways, and I would just suggest that
I'm not going to stoop to their level. Not going to stoop to their level.
You should though. Fuck it.
Okay, so I know exactly why it seems like the chat bans are so prevalent. Because merging two servers together is a huge technical feat for the developers and blah 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 blah. You guys are up under a microscope, and you will be for a little while to make sure that everything's running smoothly. I guarantee it. So that you're having instead of 2 people, you've got 10 people paying attention. You know what I mean? Or if it's 10 people paying attention, you've got 50, or whatever the case may be. So I can guarantee you that's exactly what's going on. It's probably just because for the rest of us, our stuff's generally running pretty smoothly. So you get a bunch of reports, and then the people are like, whatever. For this one, because it's such a sensitive thing, because you the recent merge, you probably got a lot more eyes on you. So you're probably under a lot more scrutiny as far as that's concerned. I can almost guarantee you that's what's going on.
That's a possibility, but
yeah,
is it only happening to S9 people and not S25? That's
true too.
Well, I would say, yeah, you're probably absolutely right. We've got our eyes on it, but when it's inside.
Hey, Arch, your mics. We're hearing a lot of touching on your microphone or something.
Oh, sorry.
You don't want to know what he's touching.
Yeah, I really don't. Don't tell me.
Just
fix it.
No, Seeker, that's overnight. No. Sorry, yeah, I was repositioning
Chat
my
ban.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was repositioning my iPad, my bad. So, yeah, it's just when it's one-sided, then it's targeted. If it was being from both sides, then I would 100% agree, multiple eyes on it, and they're being cautious and not letting things get out of control. I would 100% agree with that, high five that. But when it's one-sided, yeah, I'm not buying it.
All right, gang. You guys got any final thoughts before we move on? Want to say something to the Server 25 crowd or anybody else in general?
Yeah, Server 25. Let's bring it. You're not part of Server 25 anymore. You're now part of Server 9. Give the Server 25 part up and just be one big happy family.
Yeah, I would just say let things play. Don't try to overmanage. Don't try to over-row stuff. A simple row is usually best. Everything will settle down and calm down. Floaters will eventually stop getting hit to the degree they are. Again, the newness, the excitement of having so many people together again. Just let it play. And then we can assess and determine what kind of row to put in. The row has changed literally every day. Every day. I'm not joking. And let's just let it settle down and let it play out, and then adjust as necessary. The constant changes is what's driving people off the edge right now. So that's all I would say. Let's just play hard, play fair, and let's have a lot of fun trying to engage each other. But let's do it in a way that we can do it respectfully and not get butt burned. And I think we have a good opportunity here on Server 9, new Server 9 or Merge Server 9, to really have a great time and not turn it into a shit show.
So let's not turn it into Farmville. And that's what they're trying.
Well, with that too. And no flow charts, because they love their flow charts.
Oh, my God.
They love their flow charts. No flow charts.
Jesus.
Please, no flow charts.
I'm a pie graph kind of guy myself.
Massive flow chart they did for row prior to that existed on Server 25 before the merge.
Yeah, too bad I couldn't post here. I'd post the flow chart. You guys would belly laugh for at least an hour.
Yeah.
You could post it in podcast chat.
I may have to do that because I saw it for the first time and I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I think when we did our podcast on Server 25, I think they posted their flowchart. So
good. Well, then you got it. But all I say to them is, let's play fair. Stop this stupid chat banning, and let's just have fun. Play fair. Play hard, and we can all find equilibrium and have it all balance out over time as the newness wears off.
And I think next week I'll have Seeker and Santa on the same podcast, and they'll discuss row.
Sweet.
Okay. That'll work for me.
All right.
How much time do you have for him to post endless gifts?
He was on last time. I don't think it posted yet, but I'll make sure you guys hear who Santa is.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We appreciate you having us on. Kind of hearing a little bit from our side. Again, mad respect to everybody out there that's playing this game and having fun. And love to be seeing you guys on other servers, but I'm not somebody who starts all accounts. I only have the one. I only have time for one. Only patience for one.
Heard that. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah. We appreciate you. Make sure you check in with us soon.
Thanks,
everybody. Yeah,
thank you.
For sure.
Hey, guys.
Seeker and Arch from Server 9. All right, let's move on to Kirk. Kirk, you here?
I just said something.
Yeah, well, just making sure.
You tend to disappear. I don't know if you've noticed.
I don't have a good track record. I just come and go as I please. I'm like the mysterious stranger. I'm like the mysterious stranger from Fallout. I just show up and help out when I'm needed.
You're like the guy who just walks into a house party and nobody knows who he is. And
yeah, but I'm cool, so everybody's like, "Here, have a drink."
When asked, you just say, "Well, the door was open."
No, you just say, "Hey, yeah, man, I know Jimmy," and there's always a Jimmy, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, man, Jimmy's great," because Jimmy's also always awesome.
Right, that must be it.
That reminds me of a scene from a movie, but I'm sure it happens all the time. Anyways, I want to talk about you going to Nona. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, man. So this is something that I've been kicking around with Handy, and I mentioned it to a few other people, kind of behind closed doors. It's something I've been kicking around. To be quite fair, I'm not going to take a shot at anybody, but when I was in Dark, when I first joined Dark, I was really into it. I really enjoyed the camaraderie. It seemed like everybody had each other's back, and it just, as the time progressed, I don't know if people just got obsessed with, trying to catch up, nip at Inko's heels and get power, or what the deal was, but it just seemed like people became more obsessed about, I don't know, the things that to me weren't the biggest deal that made a really good team. And I started noticing it. I started having problems from some leadership people. Just some pretty snide remarks, some pretty rude comments, things that used to not really fly. The people that used to listen stopped listening to feedback, stuff like that. And, I'm not trying to judge anybody, and if that's the direction that the Alliance was going, and, that's fine. I'm not saying necessarily that it's wrong or anything like that. It's just it didn't really line up to what I want to do, right? So I discussed it with Handy. I know a lot of people from Nona, friends with a lot of people from Nona, good group of folks, and it just seemed like that was kind of more the style that I wanted to do, and so I did that, and so really great feedback from Nona. A lot of people were excited to have me there. Whereas the complete opposite from Dark, I got like 2 messages. Hey man, why did you leave? And then one of those people were booted from the Alliance, and from my knowledge, no reason was given to that person. I've asked 3 people in leadership, and no one could give a solid answer as to why that person was booted. It was just seemed like because someone felt like it. And to be quite honest, I mean, if that's the type of mentality that a leadership is going to have in an alliance, and this is coming from someone who was a part of leadership in a very large alliance for a while. If that's the type of mentality that we're going to have, we're just going to boot you, and we're not even going to give you an explanation. We're just going to do it because you should feel grateful to be a part of our alliance, or whatever the case may be. That's definitely not something that I want to associate with. And I feel like it's really the beginning of going down a really toxic path. I think we've seen that in other alliances. And so not a shot at Dark or anything like that. If that's the way that they're going to play now, then that's obviously that's cool. Like, I don't have any hard feelings toward anyone. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm not, this person, screw them, fuck them, or anything like that. It's just I didn't like the direction that it was going. And this is something that has been discussed between me and numerous other Dark players for quite some time now. Is that it seems like there's just this shift, and people are kind of worried about, in my opinion, the wrong things. So it was just kind of time for that jump. And so, glad I made it. I miss a lot of the guys from Dark. I miss a lot of the camaraderie. But as I said, it's kind of one of those things that just doesn't fit into the way that I want to play anymore. And since jumping, I play more now. I'm more interested in playing now than before. I would just log in, do what I had to do, and get off. Now I actually hang out in there and try to jump in, the armadas and try to do a bunch of the extra stuff. So that's pretty much it.
Have you thought about chat bans? I hear they're really popular.
Yeah. If I should just report everybody for everything.
If you don't agree, you should just chat ban them.
Well, I mean, on that subject, nobody really said anything to me that was like, vulgar or obscene or anything like that. Aside from jokes are going to happen. And obviously I don't have an issue with that. So it wasn't that. It was just this, at the risk of sounding like a 17-year-old teenager, still in high school. It was just a vibe. It was a vibe change, bro.
I think what you're trying to say, it wasn't one thing, it wasn't.
No.
It was just a culmination of things, and some of it probably your issues, some of it, some leadership issues.
So. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like the best analogy is like, you get some elderly people, after they retire, they move to this nice, quiet neighborhood. They retire, they buy this house. Well, later on in life, a lot of those houses, a lot of their neighbors either, pass away or move out or whatever, and it turns into a big rental neighborhood. Then you get a bunch of college kids or something, and it becomes super loud. Like, it's not that they're bad people. It's just that there's a difference. It has shifted. There's the neighborhood has changed, in my opinion, and it was time for me to, sell my spot and move to a little bit better, in my opinion, piece of real estate.
Ooh, shots fired. Better real estate. No.
Yeah.
Oh, shots fired. So, Handy, now that Kirk's and Nona, what's going on with Nona and Bold? And the reason I was brought, I even heard about it was because I logged in the game to do some of those really stupid token events, or the ticketed events or whatever. And I'm grinding like in Klingon space, and then I see like Toruk is floating, and I think Groper warps in with his Coronar and blows him up. And I just messaged Groper like, "Are you guys at war?" And his response is like, "Yeah, I guess that's the rumor." So, what's going on with that?
Well, it was kind of interesting how that kind of started, but let me see. Smooth, put your hand up if you're willing to talk about it. So I see Smooth's in the audience. I don't think he can talk at the moment, but if you can talk, Smooth, raise your hand. If you can't, I'll fill in as best I can. So essentially, what's going on is we're being targeted by most. And whereas just even a few weeks ago, I would maybe see one hit.
You mean Bold?
For OPL, or for Bold, sorry. I would see maybe one hit from Bold for OPL, like maybe once every couple of days or something. And then it just all of a sudden kind of shifted. Like I actually, about 2 weeks ago, we started getting a few more here, a few more there, and it just started escalating more. And then, I went ahead and I talked to Tacoma about it. And then after that conversation, I don't know if the conversation was shared with the Alliance or whatnot, but then now all of a sudden the OPL hits like tripled, quadrupled, even more. And it really seems like Bold decided to focus on us and say, well, you don't really like that we hit you every once in a while? Fine. Let's see how you like it now. And they're definitely focused on us. And they're hitting us a lot. And I don't know if their players even realize it, what they're doing. Like maybe they're just doing it and not even thinking about it. Or maybe Coma doesn't know what his players are doing. I'm not sure.
Well,
but they are absolutely taking it a bit too far. And I even reached out. Hang on. One more thing. I even reached out to other admirals and asked them if they've been having an issue with Bold. And the consensus is no, not really. So it seems very targeted.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it just the Meridians that are getting hit, or what?
No, it doesn't matter if it's OPL, it's OPL. And while I agree that OPL is OPL and whatnot, it's just if you see a pattern and you're getting hit 10 times more than you were a week ago, then you would surmise that there's an issue, yes?
Well, okay, I guess. How did that escalate to
We were being hit every 5 to 10 minutes for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, I mean, it just got a little much.
Don't care if they're on OPL, but
it was just kind of a gluttony thing. It's like, okay, look, I know there's a new ship. It's the Meridian. It goes OPL quickly. But if you're just going to sit in our territory, and of course, the whole like getting hit every 5 minutes, this is like with us killing more than half of the ships coming in. You know what I mean? So there's people watching our territories and taking ships out as they come in to OPL hunt. And even with that, they still had a bunch of people coming in. So I don't know if they thought it was fun or a neat little game. And at any rate,
well, maybe they think it's a real neat little game now, because wasn't nobody on at the time me, and it was trolling for 4 hours, and I had enough.
I agree that, like, Koma made a point to me, like, why didn't you come talk to me? It's like, well,
because he don't answer the damn messages.
Maybe to you, Smooth, but he does answer me. And I did talk to him. Me, Koma, and Chef had a long conversation last week, just a week ago, about the same thing.
You talking about on Sunday after the show?
Yes.
Yeah, I was there.
Right. We didn't record it, but we had a very long conversation. We talked about OPL, and I agree with Koma, all of his points. He's made many points to me about OPL's OPL. It would be nice to normalize it on the server and get people used to the idea of being hit. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, there is a fine line. No, I cannot define it. I can't tell you where that line is. That's just something you're going to have to figure out for yourself. That's something you're going to have to talk as an alliance and figure out what is that line you don't want to cross. And for me, that line is, we don't want an alliance to get to the point where they're all so freaking angry they're going to start wars with us. I mean, we don't want people treating us like that, which is why we stay away from hitting OPL constantly, nonstop. Like, we don't let our players do that shit because it's trolling.
Okay, so I got.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead, Mal.
Thanks. Hey, Handy.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing well, dude. Hey, I got a solution to this whole thing, and it's very simple. Don't cry when you get hit OPL. Because the problem is, you went OPL, you get knocked, and then everybody's getting butthurt over it. And I'll tell you right now, you hit a bold number OPL, we say, okay, cool. No big deal.
Well,
but Nona decided to go dry hit after getting hit OPL and declare, oh, we're at war because we can't control our mining.
Well, here's a solution for you, Ma. Get the fuck out of our TC, and there won't be a war. You've been in.
Oh, shut up, Smooth! You've been camped outside my base. You've been camped outside my base all day.
Hey!
So that's enough, man. I mean, really, put your 26 million power ship back in your pants, and we're done.
You both, bud. This just isn't the place for an argument.
Yeah,
we can have an adult conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know emotions are high, but there's no.
Well, there's more to it than just OPL is OPL.
No, there's not.
I'm mute you individually.
It is just about.
I'm leaving because I'm not talking to a fucking retard like Maul.
Okay, Maul.
Okay, wow. You're gonna start dropping slurs. Go ahead.
Anybody else?
You're
I
really would like to. I really would like to hear what you have to say.
You did rise to the occasion just as fast, so let's not point fingers.
Here's my thing. Obviously, look, I fall somewhere in the middle. If I get hit OPL, my only thing is, like, if somebody hits me OPL with like 45, not 45K or 400, like 45, obviously, like, come on, man, like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, I also understand that OPL is OPL. So to me, I don't really have much of a dog in this fight. But where I do have a dog in the fight is the fact that you're on our show. And if you're going to come on our show, let's try to conduct ourselves accordingly, because at the end of the day, if we're just going to start slinging those kinds of things, then it just makes everybody look like an ass. So let's try to keep it where it's at, because I can tell you neither side are doing any favors for their team by coming in hot off the press or responding in kind. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and unmute, but let's not do that, please.
Well, anyway, go ahead, Mal.
Well, so, my whole point was this, and I haven't really been on too much this weekend, honestly. I've been dealing with real life stuff.
Neither have I. I was busy all day yesterday, and
I've been catching.
I wasn't on at all, so I certainly feel you there. I've been catching up too.
I've been catching up through Discord posts and through keeping up in AC and screenshots and all this, and I started catching up around probably 3-4 hours ago, and about an hour ago I finally got caught up, and I'm sitting here going, so I'm trying to put a timeline together, and it looks like Nona believes they're being targeted by BOLD, which, quite frankly, is not the truth. We have not put out any kind of thing saying target Nona until Nona started targeting us in kind. And that's
well, essentially, as soon as people feel the heat, they're gonna want to hit back. I mean, that's just natural.
Hitting back, right? But there's a reason we have a rule of engagement. The rule of engagement, they've been discussed at length. OPL is okay to hit, right?
Yes.
Unshielded base is okay to hit, right?
Correct.
Okay, so where I don't understand where the line is.
That's the line.
That's the line. Very good. So did BOLD hit anybody dry?
No. And that's where I disagree with the way this was started. I don't agree that we should have started a war, a dry hitting war, in response to this. But that wasn't.
So how are we at fault, as BOLD at fault, when we were following the rules?
You're not at fault.
Okay, so, and thank you for saying that, Handy. I appreciate it.
Well, but it's true. I mean, you didn't start it. We did. We started the war.
And why? Because a bunch of level 50s can't handle getting their OPL taken from a ship that just came out?
That would be an oversimplification.
But I don't think it is, because Nona is obviously the alpha on the server, or at least a collection of all the alphas, or most of them. And you're looking at
about half, but sure.
Yeah, we can look at the power levels between alliances, and we can have that argument. But the fact of the matter is, Nona likes to change the rules if and when it suits them.
That is true. I won't deny that.
Right. So we're playing by the rules. All of a sudden, Nona decides to change the rules and gets all hurt, and then goes and on a rampage for no real reason other than to say, we feel bullied.
No, not bullied.
You said targeted.
Targeted, but not bullied. Like, I don't think anybody's trying to bully us.
What's the difference?
But I do believe that some of your players are highly taking advantage of the fact that our ships go OPL in a few minutes.
Yeah, so do ours. But we're have a little bit responsible with our mining.
Before this all started, I've taken a bunch of flights through your territory, and before we even felt the need to really target back, and you guys just don't mind.
That's right.
Now,
we don't cry.
No, hang on. So you have territory, and most of your players are not mining at all, and they're encouraged to go out and OPL hunt. Now, if your players are all encouraged to go out and OPL hunt, and all we look in our battle reports and all we see is a whole bunch of BOLD members hitting us, that's targeting.
You're targeting. We're actually not targeting Nona. In fact, if you look at my battle reports,
of course you are, and it's natural.
You'll see every alliance out there. The only alliance you will see is BOLD, because we might be the only ones going out and actively looking for OPL rather than taking up a ship spot by setting it somewhere for a couple of hours. So
and that may be true. And if you want to be the OPL team, and that's and that's how you guys want to play it, then you're going to have to deal with responses like ours. People are going to get butthurt. It's just a reality.
Well, that's true and not true, because this is the first time.
It is. That's true. Now, but I will, like I said, a few weeks ago, this wasn't an issue.
Because the Meridian wasn't out. There was no Meridian.
That is correct. So the Meridian has changed things. And most of the teams are laying off
so low on protected cargo?
Well, it's to, Scopely literally released this thing just to cause issues like we're having right now. It's good for them. It's good for business.
Sure it is. Sure it is. I mean, it causes 24 and 26 million power ships to have something to do other than just look pretty. But but at the same time, when you're talking about, look at it from our perspective, okay? We're not the largest alliance. We're not the smallest alliance. We're number 5. We have some pretty high-powered players, and we have some pretty not high-powered players. We don't live in the same stratosphere as Nona. So when we go and we pinch off of Nona's back every now and then, because they, quite frankly, dude, don't go OPL if you don't want your OPL hit. And that's the way the servers run for the past 2.5 years. But once this new ship comes out, this pretty new ship, because it works exactly like the Devore used to, or does now, right? So the Devore and the Meridian are basically the exact same ship for two different commodities. But the Devore, you can protect basically 100% of its cargo using the right personnel. The Meridian, you can't.
Mal, I think the analogy you're looking for is the North Star.
Well, okay, yeah. North Star's kind of a worthless at this point. But yeah, it's like...
it's a low OPL with a high rate of speed.
When you have a ship that doesn't protect, and you're doing something that needs protection, then why use the ship? Why did everybody go buy it? Because that's basically what everybody did. Nobody's gone through Battle Quest.
Because it mines super fast, so it's worth the risk.
Sure, it's a risk, right? So the risk is going OPL and being able to watch it, right? Because it's mining so fast, it's just like the Botany Bay or the Devore. It mines so fast, you can just sit there and watch it, basically. And go hostile grind at the same time and come back and make sure that nobody's heading for you. And that's the way I've used the Meridian. That's the way a lot of people use the Meridian. But what Nona decides they want to do is just fill it up and just hope. And if anybody hits it, just because there's a mining event going on, then the guy who hits it's the bad guy.
So you've said your piece. Now let me kind of lay something out for you.
You guys have a moment?
Let me reply real quick, and then I'll let you talk for a sec. So typically, what Nona does is we try to take into account what the server wants as a whole and kind of guide our actions to take that into account. So we want to foster good server health. We want to keep people playing the game, have fun with it, have a good time. And when people are getting super duper butthurt, we'll usually back off a bit. And the reason that is just to have a nice fun experience for most people. And when you go out and you're just relentlessly hunting or being super warlike, it's just going to rub the masses, it's going to rub them the wrong way. So that's kind of the overall very broad kind of gist of where we're coming from. So if you want to foster more warlike tendencies on the server, that's fine. We can play that way. And we have a lot of power and we'll probably come out a little ahead. So it would be more advantageous for the lower level players to be more peaceful than it would to be more warlike. Would you not agree with that?
I think that telling people how to play the game pisses people off.
I think nobody's telling you how to play the game, but
when you're trying to
this, if you're living in our TC, then we were going to react. It's a warlike maneuver. It's an aggressive play style to OPL hunt like that, and we will respond in kind, which is fine
as long as it's responding in kind and not with OPL hunts rather than
in kind is escalation. So that's
not in kind.
As soon as we went and hit a few bases to kind of show you guys, hey, knock it off, we're focused on you now. Then your reaction was to come hit more OPL because you want to prove your point that OPL is OPL. That's fine.
OPL is
and
OPL.
We'll just prove our point. We'll prove our point.
Honestly,
we can escalate too. We'll just go to war.
I think OPL is OPL was the rule that Nona established when y'all went quote unquote simple ROE. Am I wrong?
You are correct.
So what changed?
Nothing changed. OPL is still OPL. But
so why
once
the
again,
escalation?
When 80% of our members feel the heat, we're going to want to escalate. That's all I'm trying to
say. May I say something?
I'd like to say
ahead,
something when I'm given an opportunity, please. Obviously, this is going to go on for a little bit, so I'm willing to wait. I just want to be acknowledged that I will get a turn to speak because there's so many points that have been made, and it's really difficult to offer a counterpoint to those when they're just growing in number. I've actually lost track. I quit writing down. So if I may speak at one point in time, I'd appreciate it.
Go ahead right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge Handy and Tech, for their efforts and putting this together. And I do appreciate the platform. And I know there is a lot of back and forth going on, who did what, et cetera. Most of our leadership was yesterday. I happened to be on most of the day. And quite honestly, I only saw a couple of little chatter back and forth until all of a sudden it just kind of blew up. The chatter that I did see was primarily Nona responding with some, let's just call them uncalled for things, like they were calling people that were taking OPL, they were calling them names, calling them lazy and this and that, which I think is what prompted those individuals to maybe go back and do some more. Because we have a strict rule to not be like that in chat and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen because people are people.
Well, then I will go ahead and post the 10 screenshots of horrible behavior and private messages.
I'm sure. Yeah, I could do the same thing, Handy. Obviously, I think that there's people in both of our alliances that like to push that line or even cross that line. I totally get that. But nobody reached out to me at all. I actually talked to Inch, and he's like, "Oh, you're a Commodore? Oh, you're in leadership?" I was like, "Well, how can you not know if you just look at the list, at the roster? My name is there, and I'm usually pretty approachable. I'm never disrespectful. Even if I don't agree with something, I just say, okay, great, have a nice day, and then be on my way." But I think there's a little bit of apophenia happening here, looking for a pattern where it doesn't exist. I agree that that BOLD may have escalated, but I think it was in response to some of the let's just call it saltiness that was being thrown our way for OPL hunting. And I really don't think that BOLD wants to be known as the OPL alliance. I don't think that's a fair assessment, even though that's what it seems. And I understand from the perspective of Nona that that's exactly what we're doing. I agree with that being your perspective, but just like with any other perspective, it's skewed based on the idea that you have of somebody else. So having the opportunity to speak on that is extremely important. Also, having the open lines of communication is extremely important. I think that this thing got really blown out of proportion, and it could probably be headed off at the pass if open communication did happen. And I understand that you guys reached out to our admiral, but our admiral, just like everybody else, has real life things going on, and usually Saturdays are family days for people. Us other people that don't really have a life have a tendency to be on more than we probably should be. But anyway, in regard to that, nobody reached out to me. That's all I wanted to say yesterday, and give an opportunity to maybe even address it or ask the alliance. By that I mean BOLD, what's going on, so.
Yeah. And nobody reached out to me either. Coma did reach out to me.
I did reach out to you. I sent you a message. Hey, what's going on? I just got dry hit by, somebody. I'm not going to mention his his name, but he's got, two initials that people like to call him by. I said, what's, I did ask you what's going on. I mean, I'm looking at the message right now, and I didn't get a response from you. So
I don't have anything in Discord from you.
No, it wasn't on Discord. It was in game.
Oh, well, that's probably why.
It was in game. Yeah.
I don't.
So yeah. So it was just one of those. Hey,
always message me on Discord if you want to get a hold of me.
Gotcha.
I know for a lot of people it's opposite, but for me it's Discord. Yeah.
Simply, I just asked it. Hey, I know hitting bold and row is one thing, but now you're clearing our system. What's going on? Did you mark us cost? Is what I asked, and that was 17 hours ago, and I didn't get a response. So I guess that would be to the point that communication. I mean, I could have perceived it as you blew me off, right? Just like when somebody messaged Com and he didn't respond for 4, 5, 6, or whatever many hours because he was busy or not in game. It's one of those things that. You don't really know what the other person is going, so we shouldn't be hasty in making assumptions as to why we're not getting instant communication, if you will. Over.
I don't think anybody expects instant. I will say that the quote-unquote war was rushed into on our side, and I do apologize for that.
Timely. Let's say timely instead of instant, because, I mean, that's still a matter of perspective, right? Timely response, to something. So.
Well, timely would be within a few hours, an hour or two. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. But I mean, 17 hours ago, I reached out to you asking a question, and it took this podcast to get an answer that you weren't in game. That I should contact you via Discord. I didn't even think about that, but I will next time.
Now that I've gone back and looked, I did read your message apparently because I had clicked on it at some point, but it must have been while I was working because.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it happens. It's like one of those things you click on a text and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to answer that in a little bit. And you forget.
That would have been a good opportunity at that point in time, 17, 18 hours ago to start a conversation, right? So then I reached out to Inch, and then, I mean, I'm not an idiot.
Did Coma tell any of you guys about our conversation with him last week? Or were any of you in on that conversation?
What
did you guys discuss internally the long conversation we had last weekend?
Yes.
Because I will guarantee Coma knew about 80%. By the end of that conversation, 80% of it, when we left, he knew this was coming down. He said, we're not breaking OPL, we're not changing, we're not doing nothing.
No.
I had the exact same conversation.
I mean, you're over... I think maybe you're over-exaggerating the conversation, or maybe I understood it incorrectly. Our stance has always been
I can tell you right now, that conversation was like 3 hours.
There too. Yeah.
Okay,
that conversation was 3 hours.
Role. I'm sorry, I can't. I'll stop talking if somebody else wants to talk, but we should be given an opportunity to respond without interruption. Over.
After you
I wasn't going to finish it because what I was going to say is the exact conversation Coma and Handy and I had over probably an hour to an hour and a half. I had the exact same conversation with Dogs of War that lasted 2 minutes in a PM. He came to me and said, because they hit me OPL in TC, and I said, do you guys want this to continue? And he said, well, what do you think would be fair? And I said, well, in a TC event, which is exactly what we said to Coma, in a TC event like now, ISO, nobody wins. Because nobody's mining and everybody else, Bold and Nona, does not get anything in the event. I said, during the event, we should just be off limits. OPL and TC should be at 100 to 300,000. That's a compromise. Just TC OPL. Dog said, I will talk to Crasham about it. Now, that's the first time I've talked to Dog since I battled him. And I didn't expect a reply, but I got my reply. For 3 days, MR, hold on, not done. I'm almost done. 30 seconds. MRCN has not hit me in 3 days OPL. And that's what I'm saying. It's called compromise. It's called being flexible. We discussed this very carefully with Coma exactly. You can only poke the bear so many times and you're going to tick off the wrong person. And it's all about server growth. If you guys have been listening to the podcast, same with Hell Froze Over and Chef Went Row, it's about server growth. Little wars, yes, that's fine. Piss somebody off, great. But if you want a big war, nobody's going to win. And what's going to be the end result? Think about it. A week from now, a month from now. What is going to be the result of this conflict? Now
there's a lot. Okay, I'll be quiet until you tell me you're done.
I'm done, my friend. I'm sorry if I came across emotional. I'm glad you guys are here. I apologize. I've been listening and squirreling.
I get it, man. There's a lot to unpack in the multitude of points that you've made in your statement. At the end of the day, there's no emotion in this, from, in my opinion, from our point of view. As discussed, we're a simple row alliance, meaning that OPL is OPL. You cannot consider yourself a simple row alliance if you make exceptions for certain events. During a Latinum mining event, like on Monday, mining Mondays, are all mining divorce considered protected during the event? There are in some cases, now that was a rhetorical question, there are in some cases Scopely puts in their event criteria a stealing component, for example. Now I get it. Scopely's in this to make money. I mean, that's the capitalist, capitalist way, and they're going to make it off of our backs. But I think taking a strict approach to limiting OPL taking during certain events because of the newness of this ship and because how it you're saying affects the people that are mining where nobody wins. I mean, I don't think that the last piece where nobody wins, everybody loses is not a true statement, because you get credit for every single little bit of ISO that you mine, whether you lose it or not. As soon as your ship comes off that node when it's being attacked, if you have 100K, you're going to get 100K credit for that event. You're not going to take that 100K home. Whatever the OPL limit is on yours. Mine happens to be like 70 something K on my new Meridian. But regardless, you still get credit for points in the event. You don't lose those points.
So you would rather try and steal it than just collect it and be left alone. So you're taking resources over pride.
That's not what I'm saying. You're saying your statement is I would rather. I'm not talking about what I would rather do. I'm just talking in generalities.
How does this end? From your standpoint, how does this end? Where do you see this ending? Where Nona goes, okay, fine, we'll go OPL, we'll abide by BOLD. Because that's not going to happen. I just know those guys. I've known them for 2.5 years. And they're not alpha males, because alpha males just look for war.
No, listen,
everybody
out. Let me know when I can get
Nona has reeled everybody in.
I would say let Omen respond.
The alpha male comment should be stratified across every single alliance, because I don't think there's a single person, with the exception of maybe one or two that I personally know, that don't have an A-type personality in this game. And there's a lot of emotion to it. And I get it, man. I totally get what you're saying. And I don't have the answer to your question, how does it end? It ends when either capitulates to the other one. And if we capitulate as BOLD to the idea that during an event, we're not going to hit for OPL, that goes against our ROE of being simple. If Nona takes up the staunch position to where during certain events, their OPL hunting is not allowed, then it goes against their simple ROE. Where I do agree with Nona is the perception that BOLD was targeting them. It would justify a warlike response. But where I would push back on that is that I don't think that was necessarily the case, at least not intentional. And the people that escalated the hunting in Nona territory was primarily because of the conversations that were had back and forth via chat, where tempers flew instead of being a little more controlled over.
Now, Omen, I do.
Well, I will compliment Kokoma. I'm sorry, boss. Go
one
ahead.
sec. Sure. So I do absolutely agree with you, or I can believe that it wasn't intentional that you guys were targeting us, but as I tried telling Koma a week ago, that's our perception, and it keeps growing, and it was getting worse.
Sure.
And I tried to head it off before it got there, but the very see, we try and be flexible. It's like, yes, it was our idea to start the simple row thing, mainly because we didn't agree with doing a whole bunch of ridiculous rules. And nowadays, this game just keeps getting more and more complicated and complex, and there keeps becoming more and more ways. Like a year ago, simple ROE was much simpler. There wasn't all this bullcrap added to the game. It's just become so complicated to the point where, well, to be totally honest, I don't think we are simple row anymore. I don't think we can define Nona ROE as simple anymore. We just can't. We can't claim that, obviously. Because you're right, we are making rules that go against simple ROE. So I'll just tell you right now, Nona is no longer simple ROE. And that being said, I would say that I would agree that we are kind of making it up as we go, because we're just trying to react to new things being added to the game. And I've actually tried going to the server 34 and bring things up, and nobody really wants to talk about it there. I don't think anybody can relate to us, and that's not their fault. It's because they're not here. They're not at the higher power levels like most of our players are. They don't have the new ship or whatever that may be. They can't relate yet, but they will very soon.
Well, you make a very lucid point in that people can't relate to Nona because essentially they're not Nona. People can't relate to Bold because they're not Bold. There's a lot of perception involved in determining what an alliance is and what is not from the outside looking in.
Sure.
You really cannot tell how Bold operates unless you're actually in Bold, and we're always been a little on the outside, on the fringes, if you will, not playing, by the server rules, if you will, because we were the first that went simple row, and it was just in an effort to simplify the game play for us. We have, like anything in society, we have our rules, our guidelines that we try to stay. It's a 5-lane highway, and we try to keep from running into the ditches. But every once in a while, just like you guys have players and other lines that players, they run into the ditches, and those need to be corrected, or they get kicked. And we booted a ton of people for infractions that are outside of what we deem that are proper gameplay or comportment in relation to speaking to other players. Yeah, so me personally, I always try to remain above board in all of that. And I actually didn't take an offensive stance in this war until late yesterday before I went to bed or passed out on the couch, and then early this morning. But I mean, again, as soon as I went into territory, I mean, you sent me home, which is cool. I mean, I just laughed about it. I had no. I mean, there was a grin on my face because I was kind of having fun a little bit too. So you can't legislate the fun out of the game, and if you get people get really annoyed or upset, I don't want to say the word hurt because that has a whole different connotation. Yeah, they get upset because they lose OPL and they want to legislate OPL into game comportment. That's going to create a lot more issues than not. To begin with, everybody would have to be on the same page and agree to to Nona's philosophy on the way the game should be played, and we're not. Even in the United States of America, people don't agree, with each other, but we're a united nation. So we don't have to be a united server, and we definitely don't have to agree with each other, but there are some social aspects of the game that should be honored and followed. And as long as we're playing within those, I mean, really, who cares if you lose OPL? If I lose OPL, good for you and bad for me. I repair my ship and I go mine again, and not a big deal. And I think it's mistaken silence.
I 100% agree with everything you're saying. I really do. And I think all of our players also would agree with you. However,
can I have the floor when y'all get to a
sure.
Point?
Well, I mean, for the most part, I agree with you, and I do believe that, when players get angry, they should probably take a breath and step away and realize and just repeat to themselves that this is just a game.
Go ahead, Smooth.
First of all, I'd like to apologize to CapnMal. It's not my style. Omen, I've played with you, spoke to you before.
Yes, sir.
My anger is nothing about the game. It's the fact that some don't want to listen to the other side. It's just cut everybody off and repeat the same gets aggravating. And I did not reach out before declaring war because in my mind we had this whole conversation with Omen a week ago, and I assumed he had this conversation with everyone at BOLD. And for the record, I didn't get hit OPL a single time. And if I was to have, I would not have cared. But when you have a dozen to 20 lower players getting hit within 5 minutes every time they put their ship on a node, and it goes on for 4 hours, at some point I just have to draw a line. With that being said, I know you're talking about the PMs, Omen. Much respect to you. You know, hell, I think a lot of you and Grizz both. I wish y'all were at NONA, to be honest, but that's probably not going to happen. But as soon as declared war, the PMs, I got PMs from about 12 different BOLD players. 2 of those 12 were respectful. The other were name calling and childish, you know, the same stuff we all deal with on here from time to time. But it is what it is. We can't control the actions of other people. We know how that goes. And that's all I want to say. Mainly, I hope Maul's still listening. I should not have lost my cool there. Got aggravated. It is what it is.
It is what it is, man. And you know, and emotions are what they are, man. And sometimes, I mean, we're not freaking Vulcan, right? I mean, it's a fictional race anyway. But yeah, dude, it's all good, man. Much respect for you too, and everybody on this panel. I love the gameplay. I love interacting. I love fighting with you guys sometimes, you know, and I really don't mind dying. It's often it takes. I mean, just even when I was like a level 30 and fighting henchmen, I would just blow my ships on him all the time. You know, if you actually look at my stats, my PD ratio is really low, man. It's like 2.8. So man, so really, I almost die every other time that I fight somebody. You know, so that's a good indication that I'm not out looking at miners to hit all the time, man. But all good, brother. Much respect for you, and I appreciate the conversation. And I guess I'll stop freaking now because I'm just kind of blah blah blah. Over.
Hey, Omen, before I forget, any poor behavior in a chat from any of our players, I don't care who it is, anybody from Inkle all the way down, I would like pictures of those chats, please.
Okay, copy. I'll see if I can get some over to you. And again, I mean, I really think it was just, you know, tempers flare and then people being mouthy.
Regardless,
that's all. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We have you say you have a strict rule against it. We have a no tolerance policy against it.
Yeah, what I mean by a strict rule, I mean obviously that's like the rules of comportment, but just like anything else, people are always going to, you know, push that. And it's hard really to codify what's proper and what's not. You know, so
right, but if as long as I have the context, like the entire conversation, if I have a screenshot of the entire conversation, I can see the context, and I can, you know, if it's something that is truly inappropriate, I would like to see it. That's all.
Copy.
And I'll do the same for you.
So I've been listening to all of this, and I gotta say that I never pegged NONA as a mining alliance, because every time that I would OPL hunt, my first territory stops are MCRN, because they are known as the mining alliance.
Definitely.
I don't have a Meridian yet. I'm waiting to get the free-to-play one because I don't mine anymore, except for like the 3 Latinum loads that I need for Mondays. But I will say that I've had, like, my main mining ships have always been the North Stars, and I've had enough people tell me to get rid of them because low OPL, like, and I honestly don't care if I get hit OPL while mining G3. It doesn't matter to me. But it seems that all of this came around with the introduction of the Meridian, and my challenge would be, if people are getting upset or people are getting frustrated that this thing of a ship, this long dong-looking structure, is causing all the grief, then my question would be why use it? Just go back to mine the way you used to mine with your faction miners, and just log in every couple hours and swap them out. You'll still get the same amount of isogen. It's just you'll no longer need to watch your miner. It's like with data mining. There's certain alliances that still hunt OPL data. There's some that don't.
Tech is typical human behavior. We always love to do what's not good for us, right?
And plus, this is why they got to have that 20 million dilly and 8 million par in that event.
Yeah, well, this is why the rewards are totally worth it, Tech. Come on.
Exactly.
Well, here's my challenge, right? If you want to actively mine, put 3 warships around your miner, or put a botany bay on it and watch it mine overnight. I mean, it seems that you get your rewards regardless of what you mine, as long as you mine it, right?
Sure. Well, for SMS, yeah. But if you're going to be competitive, and we're a competitive alliance.
Oh my God! Andy, I'm so fucking sorry. You are trying to take the crown from MCRN for competitive mining. Jesus fucking Christ!
Very true.
I am not officially. I don't want to mine.
There are a couple people that want to be competitive in the event.
Competitive mining.
Thanks for the tip on MCRN, by the way.
Yeah, you can't tell me you didn't already know that. They are absolutely the mining alliance.
They are the mining alliance. Oh my God! Competitive mining. It's as a pleasure to watch as competitive.
No, it's just an event. It doesn't matter what the event is. It's just you want to go after it because it's the event. It's what's going on that day.
Oh, look, I totally understand, but at the same time, if you've got shit to steal, somebody's going to take it from you. Is what I'm saying.
Well, look, here's the deal. I've been kind of, because I don't really fall to one side or the other. When up until recently, when I was in dark, the vast majority of people that would hit me OPL were people from BOLD. Now, honestly, most of the time when I mine, I just set my ships there, and I kind of count on being blown up because I don't check on them very often because I got other stuff to do throughout the day or whatever. So for me, it's actually a pleasant surprise when I log on and I've got 300K in my cargo hold and no one's hit me. Kind of nice. So for me, it's. I think that OPL is OPL. I think that it is poor form. Some of the amounts that were taken from me, and as I said, I mean, I would say,
especially the tiny amounts like 5K.
Easily, I would say easily at least 2 out of 4 or 5 times, which is a little bit less than half or about half has always been somebody from BOLD that's hit me OPL, which doesn't sound like it's that big, but when you consider there's 100 active alliances or however many we got, that's a huge percentage. So the numbers there, it's anecdotal for me. I've not sat down and crunched it, but I can see from a lot of other people's viewpoints that it seems to be that an overarching number of OPL hits come from BOLD. So I can understand the sort of frustration you're getting, where it's like, Jesus Christ, man! Like, what's the deal? Do you not own a miner? Have you scrapped them all? Like, what's going on? That being said, even those small scant amounts, I might say something to someone like, "Are you really that poor? Like, are you starving that bad? Like, what's the deal?" And then it's always every little bit helps, and it's like, okay. You just leave it at there because I was OPL. So I can see both sides. I really can, and I can see the frustration. But there definitely, there's going to have to be something, because the conversation wasn't just, me being a recent transplant, so to speak. The conversation isn't just going on in NONA. It's going on in other alliances. How they choose to handle it is different. Every alliance has their own culture, right? I would mention it, and people would be like, "Yeah, well, just can't go OPL." And then other people were like, yeah, but it's stupid. It's only 100 or 200 or even 1,000 or whatever. It's not much. You can't even do anything with that. You'd have to hit me OPL, 94 times to be able to, do your max refine and TC or whatever the case may be. But yeah, my suggestion would be is to try to find some sort of a freaking compromise, because there's frustration from the side of the people that are getting hit OPL. And I think, to be honest, I know it complicates things and it sucks, but let's face it, they introduce something new every month. And it's to the point now where it's almost overwhelming. It's almost like your blood pressure goes up every time you log in because there's so much crap you have to get done. And it's not as fun as it once was. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy the social aspect, but if they took all this away, the social aspect, I'd probably delete the game tomorrow. But yeah, I think just because of the amount of crap that they're throwing at us, I think it necessitates some we have to complicate
extra guidelines.
Exactly. Before, when this stuff was going on, before they started introducing all this other stuff, it was really easy to say no loot, don't shoot. But now it's like, man, there are so many moving parts that it's ridiculous and it's really frustrating. And I really feel like if we could really just sit down and find some sort of number to put on it, we make fun of other people's ROEs all the time. The numbers that they put on it and the stuff that they do is silly, but the idea of what they're doing still makes sense because it's an established guideline and not everybody's on the same page. And now we see what we're dealing with. So I say all that to say I can't say that anybody's wrong or right because it's just the situation in which we find ourselves and everybody's reacting the way that they feel is appropriate. And that's my personal play style. I'll hunt some OPL sometimes, but unless you're like, my minimum is like 10K on any ISO. Unless you're 10K or higher, I'm not touching it. Especially on the 1-star stuff or G1 or the diamond or whatever the hell people refer to it now, the 1. For me, I personally have limits that I do in deep space. Unless you're 50,000 or over, unless I can get a single refine out of you, I don't hit you. A lot of things like that. But I really feel like maybe it's time that we sat down and started putting some numbers on some of these things. And I know it sucks because we don't like overcomplicating everything. But through not overcomplicating everything, we're just paying for it now with all this crap where we can't go out and mine. Our young, the smaller players, to include me, I'm not a very big player, low 40s. It is a little bit difficult for us to mine. And maybe it is time, and I'd like to get people's honest opinions on what you think about that, because we're having these issues, and it seems like these issues are getting closer together and closer together and closer together. I'm done speaking.
Actually, most OPL hunters don't check how much you actually have. They just see that you have cargo, and then that's it. Then attack.
But that's
I've done that too. Well, I mean, look, Again, everybody has a story. I was hit by... this was a while ago. I was hit by MCRN for 53 G3 ore. Right? Who cares about 53 G3 ore? Well, it didn't matter
Obviously,
because
they didn't look.
I was showing that I had cargo, and so I was attacked. And I think most people, there are people that will check every single ship for how much, but most people, if there's cargo showing, I'm gonna get it, and then you look later how much you got.
And that's fine. And the people that do that also need to realize that if they do that to the wrong person, they're going to elicit a response. It's just a reality. I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's going to elicit some kind of response from a lot of different people. Some people will just let it go. Most people will not just let it go. Even if they don't send a message and say something, they're probably going to focus in on your other alliance members. And if you want to be super selfish and not check and be a lazy player and just hit whatever is showing, then you're risking that player getting annoyed at it and deciding if they have some extra time, they're going to go run through every system and hit every player that's one OPL in your entire alliance. Or maybe they're going to go start smashing some bases, or they're going to do something because that's the type of person they are. I don't agree with it. I don't play like that, but I totally respect people's right to go play like that if that's how they want to play.
So Dragon from 38 says, I don't know the size of all these players hitting OPL, but I know for my little guys, a 5K hit OPL is awesome, where I won't hit that low. And yeah, I mean, it varies for different levels. Like,
but see, we look at who's hitting us, right? So some of these hits are coming from like level 44, level 46, level 42, whatever players. Like if I always go look, right? So if somebody hits me for 5K OPL and they're level 32, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to go, good on you, man. You got a little bit of loot. But if it's somebody that's, that's level 44, I mean, come on. Did you really need to hit me for that? Or are you just flying through, hitting everything, being lazy?
Well, Well, let me ask you this. What's more lazy, setting a miner and leaving it, or actively going through every territory and looking for people that have loot?
That takes work.
Setting a miner and forgetting it, absolutely. It would be the more lazy way. That's a good point.
I got taken for 12 OPL, and that's probably one of the only times that it elicited a response. So I went over to GTS, and then I hit everything that I could that was OPL, and probably got about 25K. So I think the return on that 12 was pretty good. Over.
Very good. But that's my whole point, right? So for the people that do hunt OPL, they got to know that it's going to elicit a response. So I'm not saying I want to see the server be Farmville, because that's boring, like super boring. But there is some sort of arbitrary line, and the line shifts every day depending on the events that are going on and blah, blah, blah. But there is a line that if you cross, it's going to elicit more of a response.
But if the line wasn't there, meaning that if the entire server just simply agreed that regardless of the complexity that Scopely is introducing monthly to the game, if OPL is just OPL and everybody minds
nobody's going to agree to that. I understand that would be great for Bold, but nobody's going to agree to that.
No, hang on. This isn't for Bold. This is me talking. I'm not talking for Bold at the moment. I'm just responding to what you were saying about putting the those things in place and etc. The complexity of all the game. I'm just offering a different perspective from my personal point of view, that if you make it less complicated, then what Scopely introduces is not going to aggravate the issues. If just say the entire server didn't really give a shit about OPL or base rating, because nobody really cares about base rating either, right? But base rating to me is a little more offensive, because you actually end up losing shit that you paid for in packs. When I'm mining ISO and I'm 100K over and somebody takes it, I really don't care. I mean, I really only care when it's like 12.
That's your perspective. Though for me personally, time is money. My time is extremely valuable to me. I've got more money than I have time. So when I spend a bunch of time mining or something and then somebody comes and takes it, they've stolen that time from me. That's more precious than money. For me, but that's my perspective.
Yeah.
Everybody's perspective is different.
In general terms, if the gameplay was simple, stratified across the server, and every single alliance agreed that OPL is OPL, then we wouldn't have any of these issues. But that's maybe a utopian concept that's not achievable because of all the difference of opinions that are in the game and the levels of.
I think it's achievable. I don't think everybody will agree, but at least, at the very least, if you can get leadership in each alliance to agree, then that's enough. But because for the most part, even if somebody doesn't agree, they'll go along with their team, right? Because they're a team player.
Toe the line. Yeah, they got to toe the line, company line, or they find another company.
Exactly.
The biggest issue that we're looking at, and I think Omen and Mal and probably a couple other people have already touched on it, is that the OPL thing has been a sliding scale since like the dawn of the server. It's constantly moving. The borders are constantly shifting back and forth on the acceptable of this and the acceptable of that. And then the last big push that we did when we were sick of our overcomplicated ROE, which at that time I will agree that it was overcomplicated for that time. There were not as many moving parts. The last big push was that OPL is OPL. That then, very recently in the past couple of months, carried over into deep space. OPL is OPL. And a bunch of people were pushing for it. A lot of those same people, once they actually started getting hit OPL, were getting upset. And they weren't just people from NONA. They were people from DARK. They were people from MOST. They were people from NCRN, especially. There were people, a lot of these other alliances, that were these people were initially, OPL is OPL, and this is ridiculous, because I'm sick of people sitting on mining nodes for, 8 hours or whatever, whatever the case may be. So the line has to be drawn before before we can do anything to discuss what is acceptable. The line of what is considered a decent OPL hit has to be drawn. Do you put a number on it? Is it based on the type of material versus how much it costs to refine? What is that? This is the conversation that needs to happen, or else this stuff is going to continue to happen. And I guess that's the point I was trying to make earlier, and I was just trying to think of a better way to say it. So that's my opinion. For what it's worth, I've been around just as long, if not longer, than a lot of other people here. And so I've seen all the evolutions of going through. I mean, I remember the beginning of the server. I mean, you were lucky to be able to mine 100 of any resource at a time before you got hit. It'd take you like a week and a half to be able to refine some G2 mats, if you could find a node and somebody didn't have a big ship on it. So that's just my opinion, and I'd like to hear people's opinion on that. Should we establish some sort of what is acceptable? And I'm sorry, my wife almost fell out of her chair. And what is acceptable? What is acceptable? And if we can define this, then it can be something that's absolute. That's what we have to do. We have to have something that's absolute. We realize now that saying, yeah, you can do this as long as it's not being a dick. Well, the thing is, again, I use my favorite term, that's a sliding scale as well. What's being a dick for me is not the same as being a dick for Omen. It's not the same as being a dick for Smooth or Handy or Tech or Chef or anybody else that's here. We all have differing opinions no matter how much we think we agree. There's always going to be a differing opinion. And because of that, there's an X factor. The X factor is a human being, the human mind, and we're all independent. So the reason why, if you look at certain things, like you look at laws or anything, I hate equating things to real life in this game, but if you look at why things are written in the absolute, because you have to have a definable line, and we don't have that. So these conversations, whereas we can think we are being productive, this is simply an exercise in futility until everybody figures out the established line. I'm done speaking.
Well, that's a very good point. But once again, we don't want to make it so overly complicated that
then we're doomed to deal with this stuff inevitably, is the point that I'm making. This is just going to continue to happen and continue to happen. If we don't want to overcomplicate things, and I'm with you. You heard me say earlier, when we initially said we hated the overcomplicated stuff, close to a year ago or however long it was when we were talking about it on this show ad nauseum, we knew that. We knew that was a problem then. The game has changed. It is a completely different battlefield, so to speak, at this point. It's a completely different set of terms. And so what we're doing is we're working with outdated ideas based on the information and the resources that we have available at this time. We have to do that, or we are going to continue to have these conversations, and people are going to continue to retaliate and get upset because not everybody knows where that line is. It's a big guessing game. We're all dancing around a minefield praying to God we don't fucking blow ourselves into oblivion.
Now we have a couple other leaders on our server of varying size of alliance.
There, by the way.
Well, these are green, so I've just invited them. SaRrescueRanger and Grazi. Hey, Grazi. So I just wanted to see if you guys had anything to say, if you had anything to add to the conversation as leaders of your respective groups. Ranger, why don't we start with you? Well, that's okay. We'll start with Ranger if she can talk and see if she has anything to say. And not yet. Grazi, are you able to talk, buddy? Oh, here she is. What's up, Ranger?
Not much. I was trying to figure out how to unmute me.
Oh.
I'm using my phone, so the buttons are different.
Sure.
But on OPL, is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah. I mean, you heard the conversation. You've been sitting down there for a while, yeah?
I don't know. I'm more of the fact that you can hit them. I mean, personally, I don't hit unless it's worth my time to hit them. But I have a lot of guys that hunt, and they don't look and see how much you have. They just see you have OPL, and they hit you.
Now, do you try and put any restrictions on your players, like try not to go overboard or anything like that, or it's?
No, I don't, because I kind of believe OPL is OPL.
And do you have anybody ever messaging you complaining about getting hit?
We have a few, but actually, no, I don't get a lot of hits. I don't get a lot of talk about that. I get people who are pissed off because they got hit and they lost their cargo. And I've had a few of my guys hit really big cargoes, and that's what they get mad about. But I just tell them, well, you should have kept an eye on your ship.
Yeah.
So.
And in most situations that works, because I mean, if you have a large protected cargo, you had plenty of opportunity to recall it. But with these new meridians, as people will see here very shortly, as soon as this arc is completed, if you want to use that new ship to get the loot much faster, and also maybe people aren't aware, but this new ship opens up a new line of refinement, so you can pretty much double your output on refined ISO. And so if you want to accelerate your gameplay, you got to mine a lot more. You got to mine it faster. So people will find out shortly.
On that, they will. But I have not had anybody complain about those hits. It was someone was, I think it was gas. They were over like 200K. And so my guy hit him and he complained.
Right. Is this deep space or normal space?
It was normal. Actually, I think it was on one of the territories.
Okay.
And I told him, well, too bad my guy got there before me. That's what I told him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a little different than what we're talking about, but
yeah, you're talking about the little ones, and I haven't had anybody, as far as I can remember, nobody's complained to me about, they only hit me at 50. So I've never had any complaint about that.
What's your feeling on if people hit for tiny amounts of OPL?
Personally, I wouldn't do it, but I'm not going to tell my guys not to. But also, a lot of them don't look at how much you have either.
Do you think that's okay?
Yeah, because they're still OPL is OPL. I mean, if I keep saying that, then I have to believe that any amount is good. Otherwise, I'm saying that OPL is not OPL.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, there's one viewpoint. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Grazi, you with us now, buddy? Let's see if Nash is around. Nash, can you come up and talk? Nope, no Nash.
You're striking out, Handy.
I'm striking out.
I'm assuming Grazi has a lot of noise. It's storming pretty good here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's not far from me at all.
Okay. Well, he's probably under a tin roof or something.
He's probably on his boat in the storm, would be my guess. Hungover.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but...
He's probably got too much.
So anyways, I think this is a larger conversation to have in terms of normalizing, I guess the normalization of what people want limits to be. The default I'd go to one of Chef's points as a default is it's a game mechanic. Utilize the game mechanic, default to the game mechanics, right? Mm-hmm. So if you got something showing, regardless of how much it is, you're not diligent enough to pay attention to what you got, and it's there for the taking, So that's the way lower level players see it. Their bases can get raided. Their ships have been blown up, right? Lower level players have never had the ability to mine something without getting hit, So it's the upper level mentality to say like, hey, why are you hitting me if it's so little? But that's my point of view on it.
All right. Well, I think that's enough about that subject for today.
Yeah. And on that note, we'll check in with Nona and Bold, see if they don't come to a compromise like tomorrow. Or like
tomorrow?
A few hours from now.
Stop pressuring me.
Hey, we gotta at least make this little war have some fun out of it,
We got mining Monday coming up. What fun would that be?
The Meridian doesn't count for points, though.
Well, hopefully they come out with a Meridian event for Mining Monday.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, and I hope the mechanic is you have to take the material to your base. That would be more fun and entertaining.
Yeah. But I wonder if it'll be a steel component to that, which...
Well, again, it's if the mechanic is what you dock to your base, then whatever loot you got that's showing can be taken away from you, and you don't get those points. They did that on one of the events. I can't remember which one it was.
I like it.
And everybody chat ban Scopely so that we can get those events again. I'll message everybody at the same time.
How can you chat ban the chat banners? I don't know.
Hey, Chemo, can you talk for a sec?
I
want to get your opinion on this OPL business. I don't know.
And he's just joining. You're putting him on the spot.
Yes, I am. I'm some evil that way. Well, I'll get his opinion after recording ends. How about that? But at any rate, we definitely need to talk about it more. Appreciate everybody listening, and I'd like to hear your opinions.
All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for being here. Smooth, Omen, CapnMal, Chef, Seeker, and Archangel from Server 9. Thank you guys, everybody. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Do all those things that help with the algorithm. This has been Trek Talk. I'm TechMan16.
I'm StrangeKirk.
And I'm Handy.
And we'll see you guys next time. And don't worry, Ree, I'll bring you a coffee.